Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm the matriarch of the H.O. Bell family now. My daughter tells me this. She said, "Mom, you're the matriarch." So, well, I've lived here all my life, and I am 76 years old. And my dad came to Missoula in 1915. He was born in Ohio in 1884, and went to Spokane probably in 1906. What does that make him? 22 years old. And he just wanted to go west with a friend by the name of Rose. The last kid's name was Rose. My dad had a 5th grade education. His dad had died when he was in about the 5th grade, and my grandmother had 4 children. They lived on a farm in Ohio, and it was difficult for her alone to have the 4 children. So she sent my dad to live with an uncle who lived near Columbia City, Indiana, and he was a bricklayer, and he had a car, which was an old Winton, and my dad learned how to take that thing apart from stem to stern, and he found out that he just really loved mechanics, and so he worked for $1 a day for some garage there when he was probably 15, 16 years old. And then he met a man by the name of Carl Fisher. He knew his uncle. I think he was a friend of my dad's uncles. And so anyway, Carl Fisher was called the Fabulous Hoosier. He was an Indianan, and he developed the Indianapolis Speedway. It was called the Indianapolis Speedway in later years, and also he developed Miami Beach. But my dad raced on the Minneapolis Speedway before it was called the Minneapolis Speedway, because Mr. Fisher trusted him and liked him, and he was a good kid, and he could race the cars, and if something happened to them on the way, why, he could fix them and keep on with the race. And so in 1906, he and a friend decided to go to Spokane because I think they like to fish. Someone told them that the fishing was pretty good. So they decided that they would go to Spokane, and I think they took the train and ended up in Spokane, and I think his buddy that was with him maybe had an uncle there or something. So they both got a job with the uncle in a shop for $1 a day, and maybe shortly after that he was making a little more than that. I don't know, but they started out at about $1 a day. And so he also raced cars in Spokane. I have a picture of him here in a Lozier Bearcat 1910 in Spokane, Washington, and that's Harry Bell. And he used to win a lot of automobile races. I have some pictures of him with the cars and so forth, and a couple of trophies. Anyway, he met my mother in Spokane. She was a secretary for a banker there, and she put herself through business college in Oregon and came to Spokane, and so became acquainted with my dad, and they were married in 1909, and my sister was born in 1910, and anyway, he worked for Mr. Williams, who was a Ford dealer there, and in 1915 he had an opportunity to come to Missoula to buy a Ford dealership. I think he'd been to Missoula before, maybe on the train as a rep or something like that, and he didn't have any money, of course. You know, he had a wife and a new baby, and well, actually she was 5 years old in 1915, but didn't have really any money to speak of, not enough to buy a dealership. So what he did was ask a banker in Missoula after he'd been here a few days, and the banker in Missoula said, "Are you kidding? Who are you?" And, and that won't ever, forget it. So Mr. Williams, his employer in Spokane, had enough faith in the young man to say, "Okay, I'll loan you the money." So he did loan him $30,000, which was a small fortune in 1915, but he bought the Ford dealership and paid him back in 3 years. So he did very well. He had a sister and an aunt who prayed for him all the time, and a mother too. They prayed for him, and so I really believe that it was God answering prayers as far as my dad's success was concerned. He became a community servant in a few years. He was with the Rotary Club and the can't think of the name of the other clubs that he did. Many things, and then in later years he was chairman of the airport board for like 30 years, and Missoula Airport has my dad's name on it and Mr. Bob Johnson, who were they were good friends and worked together as far as aeronautics in Missoula were concerned. My dad did buy land with Mr. C.H. McLeod probably in the mid-20s, early 30s, out where Sentinel High School is today and Bancroft Street, up to the fairgrounds. It was their land. They were hoping to put an airport there. Originally it was called Hale Field, after Mr. R.J. Hale, who was a wonderful man and a good friend. They were neighbors on Keith Avenue. And so anyway, when the airport didn't work out there for the international airport, land was purchased out where it is now. And my dad was chairman of the airport board for like 30 years. He was responsible for a lot of the early highways that went through Montana. The roads, he served on the highway department for many, many years, and head of the AAA in Montana, and went to Washington, D.C. a lot to work on various highway and automobile things in Detroit, one thing and another. He was just, he loved the United States, and he loved Montana, and especially Missoula. He just wanted to serve, which he did. He served always with a gracious heart, and just loved being a community servant. Not only did he give a lot financially, he just gave of himself, and that was his life. And so I will always be very proud of my daddy. He was my daddy, and my mom too. She was a very supportive wife. Both of his wives, they're both buried here. Mary, and my mom died in 1950. I was 19 years old. She was killed in an automobile accident, and I was devastated because at the time she and my dad were my best friends, and my dad was pretty broken-hearted about that too. But in a few years he married Mary, and she was an absolutely wonderful wife too. She did everything that he wanted to do, as my mother always had. So he was a very blessed man to have two wonderful and supportive wives. And so that's my daddy. He died in 1971, and he was 87 years old. So he lived to be a ripe old age, and I still miss him a lot. And my husband is buried here too, so I've lost the two strong men in my life. So now I have the Lord. What could be better? Thank you all for coming. God bless you.